Hello viewers, today I will be reviewing Hadrian the Seventh by Francisco Rolfe, which is a book about religion and politics taking place in the early 1900s. The book was published in 1904, written by a very interesting author, very eccentric person, who I think it's very important to first find some information out before we go into the text. Hopefully I'm planning to review this book in 3 steps. The first being to give you some information about the author. The second, a spoiler-free introduction to the major themes in the text. And for the last part, I will be diving deep into the text to withdraw some interesting claims that the author has made through this text, some ideas that he's shared with us and that he holds wholeheartedly, to see what we make of it and tell you what I thought of it. So hopefully you'll join me for the review, and thanks for tuning in. Let's first lay down the groundwork before we attempt this interesting text in defining who the author was. He was raised a Protestant, but he always saw his vocation to be that of a cardinal at the Catholic Church. He aligned his beliefs with Catholicism more so than he did with the branch of the Christian faith that his parents followed and that all of England followed, which was under the Protestant Church. He converted to Catholicism at the age of 15 and followed his calling thereon forward by studying texts and following his calling through the academia. At the age of 25, he joined the Catholic College at Oscott, whereupon he became a professor to teach younger students. After 3 years, he was expelled for the school for the reason of not having a priestly vocation. He didn't believe that he had a true calling to God. Being removed from his passion and dreams, he follows other creative pursuits such as journalism, photography, becoming an artist, inventing various inventions, and always landing flat on his face. Never giving up his belief to become a priest, he follows his vocation to become a writer at the age of 40 and seriously starts to write literature. In literature, he sees an opportunity to vindicate himself to the world, to present his case, to show his rightful heart in its rightful place. And at the same time, he wants to persecute the people who have done him the most wrong. This is a noble calling which brings to us this wonderful book. At the start of the novel, we are introduced to our main character, George Arthur Rose, who's a dilapidated person wronged by society who lives alone in a small apartment that's rather shabby, has a single desk, and he's writing some important text. We are shown a few things about him which remain his character traits throughout the text. We are introduced to a writer who's a loner, only accompanied by his cat and his cigarettes. The guy smokes like a chimney, and the guy has no contact with the world, substituting it for a feline cat. A lot of these authors, they have a very big fascination with cats. I've often actually thought when finishing this text, maybe I should get a cat. Maybe that'll improve my writing. Maybe that's the secret that some of us don't know. So his cat name is Flavio, by the way. So he's sitting in this little room and he's writing. The only breaks he takes are to read the newspapers. Another prominent fixture in this text. is the job of the journalist and the job of the media. It updates him on the world, where he reads 2 articles. One about the chaos that is happening with France and the removal of their king by the socialist society. And then he also hears about the chaos happening in Russia, another country which has pushed out its sovereign leader. These texts disappoint him hugely. He doesn't believe that a strong leader should be kicked out by the people. But these beliefs don't really mean anything, because he hasn't finished any major work at this point. He has no power. He's been wronged by society. And he's just left to his beliefs, to his prayers, to his writing, to working on himself on an everyday basis. Early in the text, he gets a visit from a cardinal and a bishop. And they've come there to right the wrong that society has done to him. They were sent there to take care of his problems and to call him back to the church, because the church needs him. Eventually all is agreed, everything's paid off, and he goes away. Whereupon in the book we are beautifully introduced into what happens when a pope is being selected in the Catholic Church, inside the Vatican, in the conclave of 1902, where it's the duty of all the cardinals to select the next following pope after a previous death of one. The politics and the processions and how everything is, how there are different sides and people have to vote on and split votes and debates and the process of choosing a pope, while it's very, very dense and at times takes a lot to plow through, is nevertheless very accurate, very beautiful descriptions, and you learn a lot from it, or at least going away from it, if you have no recollection of how the Vatican functions whatsoever. Lo and behold, there's this stalemate between all the nominees, and the new committee selected for the job of this task, and somehow he's the dark horse inside this conclave where he gets invited, and he actually gets the nomination to become the Pope of Rome. And basically what you get in the rest of the story is this idea behind his struggle for power. For the rest of the text, we are dealing with an individual who is trying to ascertain his power and put into effect his means of making a more united, a more successful world. It deals with religion, it deals with politics, it deals with the media, it deals with socialism, it deals with the rule, the God-given rule to a sovereign who has the right to rule a country, and all these different interesting aspects, as well as blackmail, conferences, the Pope's view on society, how a dark sheep is put at the wheel of the vehicle that is in combustion, which is Europe at the time. Okay, so I'm going to give a fair warning. Now I will be giving spoilers, and I will be going more into depth into this text. So if you are interested to read how Black Sheep starts to rule the world, stop here, come back anytime, rewatch the video, ask some questions. I'll be glad to answer them. But now I will give a more in-depth view of my ideas, what I think this text is trying to say, and what I think Francisco Rolfe wanted to get across. My takeaway from this piece of literature is how much of an influence the media has over our everyday lives, especially the everyday lives of a ruler. Hadrian the Seventh is at odds with the Socialist Party in England, and he fears for his land because the socialism has taken over France already and Russia. This is a major concern of his, so he goes about rectifying it through calling together all the strong leaders, specifically the leaders of England, the leader of Germany, and the leader of Italy. Essentially, Hadrian the Seventh believes in the rule of the monarchy, that the ability to rule should be given from God and should be held by strong families. When France and Russia goes through their rebellion, he doesn't acknowledge them as territories. More so, he acknowledges it as a land that is in a flux and that should be taken over by another leader, since their head wasn't strong enough to hold down the country, and the people he considers anarchists that need a strong law to guide them. So he devises this plan to have the three major leaders divide the territory of all the land between them three, giving a large portion to America, a large portion to England, and a large portion to the German ruler. This is his play in order to unify the world, because he feels like if it's under strong leadership, then these leaders will bring peace, order, and mission to their territories. At the other end, we have the socialism, the democracy, the rule of the people as a whole, which wants to divide all the territories upon themselves. And when they can't get any traction behind their motives, we see how they go about finding power. And it's mainly through the media. They use sources that are unreliable, that are faulty, that are aimed to blackmail people. They're not of high moral character. And essentially what they do is working, because it brings destruction and disunifies a country in order. It brings chaos. It brings this element of disorder which the kings or the power heads can't control. And it brings disorder through this backstabbing kind of scheming, relying on false information to rip apart multiple nations and bring the world into a chaos. To me, it was interesting at how much people give value to the media, at the time, which was just, newspapers, but now we have much more if you think about it. And the way it's portrayed in the story is that people give a lot of value to things printed in the newspapers, even though there's really no facts behind them, even though the information is false and is twisted in a certain way. It's very relevant to, I think what's going on nowadays is it's almost like in fashion to attack the leader of a country. As the more power it seems that the leader has, the greater liberty the media goes to in order to put his name through the mud. because it sells, because it interests people, and the media makes money from distribution of their content. So the content is much more likely to be distributed if it takes on the Goliath, so to speak. Everyone wants to see the main attraction. Nobody's interested in, the boxing card. People show up only to see the main fight. So, in a sense, it's this media that's just this destructive thing, and I don't know, I don't watch TV, I don't own a television. I personally don't own a television. So I'm not opening myself up to the influence of media. I don't listen to radio, especially like news reports. I just got on Twitter. I never believed that what the media puts out there is 100% fact. And because I can't or don't have the power to deduce what is right and what is wrong, what is the lie, what is the truth. So essentially this book reinforced my reasoning behind not watching the news. Because even when it's so limited as it was in the 1900s, it had a huge effect on destroying nations, destroying people, just so that they could make a buck. And it's interesting when the world of journalism is challenged, how little there is behind this huge facade, So it's kind of like, it educates you on the content that you choose to consume in your life, and having facts behind it before believing it. Maybe you won't want to watch CNN or Fox or other news outlets, or maybe you'll doubt what you hear now, but it's definitely gonna change your opinion on the content that you consume and how much facts and research are behind those contacts. Because you see multiple articles printed within this novel of having little facts behind it, of making a story and putting together incoherent information just to have an effect on people, to make a story. And you see just blatant lies put out there as a form of blackmail to attain power, essentially, to attain a voice. And it was very disheartening because I related it back to the world we live in today. In conclusion, this is a strong piece of work that vindicates a man for 20 years of his tortures and puts him at the highest position, where now he is forced to clear his name on a personal level from all the dirt that's being flung at him, while on an international level trying to keep the major territories from collapsing to socialism, communism, and all these ideas that are forcing the citizens to turn against authority. So here's an interesting quote that I will read, which is only on page 4. Old legitimate monarchies are everywhere declining, and demos stand ready to swallow them down its miry throat. That's at the beginning of the book, and I don't think you need any other information to know what this book is about. Let me know what you thought about this review, if it was in any way helpful, if the book, the text, interests you at all. Let me know what you think about the media. Do you think they have facts behind their work? Do you disagree with the statements I made, or my opinion, or the opinion that the book puts forth? I'm interested to know people's take, because I'm here to give my honest opinion, and I know it's controversial. And when something's controversial, there's always an opposite side. So if you think it's complete bullshit, or if you agree with it and you want to go in deeper and discuss it, I'm open to conversation. I think in the future I'll be reading also The Quest for Corvo, which is a biography of Francisco Rolfe. And I want to see how I get along with this book, because I'm very interested in the character. I'm interested in what motivated him. I'm interested in what motivated him to publish such a work, to spend so many hours of his time working on this major novel, and how his life related to the issues he attacked in his work. Thank you all for watching, whoever got this far. And I guess I'm supposed to say subscribe, like, dislike. And then all I'm trying to do is open a channel for communication and discuss the works that I find interesting. So once again, have a great day, and thank you for watching.